podcast focusing on the students, staff, and community members that make the Village Elementary unique. We are your hosts today. I am Oakley.
I'm Luna.
And I'm Mrs. Evans.
Today we are bringing you the fourth episode in our series about the 7 habits of happy kids.
Or as some of you may know it, the 7 habits of highly successful people. Our first episode discussed good habits and bad habits. Our second episode was about habit number 1, be proactive, you're in charge, which is all about learning to take action and be responsible for your emotions and the choices you make.
The third episode discussed habit number 2, which is begin with the end in mind. This is especially important because we all should think ahead and set goals for what we want to happen in our lives. That could be a new goal every day or one we work towards our whole life.
Don't worry if you haven't listened to those episodes yet. You can always go back and check them out on our page where all our episodes are posted, thevillage.usd253.net. Today we will be talking about habit number 3, put first things first.
We chose to be on this episode because we feel that this one of the habits that we really connected with. You may be wondering what that means to put first things first. It means that you should always work first, then play.
Putting first things first means that you should spend your time on the things that are the most important. Say no to the things that you should not do and stay organized to get things done. It also means that you should put the things and people that are the most important to you first and do the things that maybe you don't necessarily want to do, but that you need to do.
In our Eagle Leader meeting, we learned that life is like filling up a jar with rocks.
You have big rocks, which are the most important things in your life, just like eating healthy, exercising, going to school, spending time with your family, and keeping a job.
Then you have small rocks. These are things that are important but you could live without, like playing sports, taking gymnastics classes. Finally, you have sand. Things that in your life that are sand could be watching TV, playing video games, going to concerts, shopping, or anything extra. Of course, these are all important things to do if they make you happy, but they should always come after your other big responsibilities.
If you fill your jar with sand first, there is no room left to fit your rocks in. But if you put the big rocks in, then the smaller rocks, you will have room in between to fill with sand. You can use the big idea of big rocks, small rocks, and sand every day. For example, if you're at home and you have homework, you need to clean your room, and you really want to play a new game that you just got, you would need to start with the big rock.
That would be making sure your homework is done first.
Then you would need to do the smaller rock, which would be cleaning your room.
After you have that done, you could spend some time playing the video game. Today we have invited a special guest to talk to us more about this habit.
We chose this person because we feel she knows a lot about putting first things first. We would like to welcome our favorite music teacher, Miss Steinmetz.
Hello. Hi, guys.
Could you introduce yourself to our listeners?
I'm Miss Steinmetz. I am the music teacher here. I just started this fall, and I'm very excited to be on the podcast with you guys.
What inspired you to become a music teacher?
I really loved music when I was a little kid, and I would dance and sing and run around, and I had a really good elementary music teacher when I went to Logan Avenue in Emporia, and she really pushed me to do orchestra and do all of that kind of stuff, and I really liked it, and I continued it through the middle school here, the high school here, and then ESU.
How long have you been a music teacher other than Village?
This is my first year teaching. I graduated last May from ESU, and this was my first job. I actually did my interview while I was still in college, so this is my first job here.
What is your favorite thing about being a music teacher?
I love being able to share music with all of the kids here. I get to see all of you every week, and I get to play instruments, introduce you to playing orchestra instruments and how cool band is. I get to see you perform, and your parents get to see you perform. It's just super fun.
Have you ever heard of the 7 habits of happy kids?
I have heard of it just from this podcast, though. So without the podcast, I would have had no idea. So it's really cool that I get to be on just now that I learned about it.
What does the habit of put first things first mean to you?
It means that I get my priorities straight, so I know that I have a job here at Village, so I know I need to put you guys and my lessons first, and then I can go home and I can read a book, or I can go play outside with my dog, or I can watch TV at the end of the day.
What are some big rocks, small rocks, and sand in your life?
Some of my big rocks, I would say, is making sure first that my lessons are done or my activities are done, or making sure that I have the concert dates done for you guys. And then when I go home, some of my big rocks at home would be making sure that I'm putting time for me and my fiance to go and like hang out together and spend time together, not just by sitting on the couch and both playing on our own phones, but like actually spending time together. And then I would say some of my smaller rocks are keeping the classroom that you guys are in every day clean, and making sure that like all of the sticks that we use are put back in their bins, and making sure just like everything for the next day is kind of ready and prepared. And then at home, it would be cleaning my house, eating right. I don't usually, since I kind of run out of time during the day, but I've been really trying to focus on that. And then some sand in the classroom, especially, is we get our lesson done first, and then at the end of the time, at the end of our classroom time, we sometimes have time for a game. So that would be kind of like the sand, kind of like our little send off. If we have time, we can play a little game. And then at home, my sand would be watching Netflix or reading a book, or I really love playing Animal Crossing on my Switch. So I spend a lot of hours doing that. It's like a video game on like the Nintendo Switch, and you have a bunch of little animal villagers on your island, and you have to make an island for them, and you have a bunch of tasks, like you have to get 5 stars for a good island, and then
Nice, that sounds fun.
It
Have
is.
you girls ever played it?
No.
It's super fun.
How do you put first things first in your job?
In my job, I would say making sure that my lessons are done and that I'm in the mindset of teaching, not just that, yeah, I show up in the morning and we do orchestra and then we play some stuff, but I'm like ready. I'm actively teaching you guys, not just reading off slides. So making sure that I'm mentally here to help you, and then also making my materials done.
How do you think putting first things first applies to music or learning to play an instrument?
It's kind of like in the classroom when we start with our warm-up. So we like talk about our rhythms, so 1, 2, and 3, 4. We have to have that done before we can add our sticks and then add the drums and stuff like that. So for orchestra, we make sure we know our notes, and then we make sure how we know how to open our case, pick up our instrument, play the basics, and then we can add the fun stuff like playing Pirates of the Caribbean or something fun like the Super Mario Brothers intro or anything like that. So making sure you have the basics down and then going, so that you're not just kind of skipping a bunch of steps.
How do you think students could practice putting first things first?
I think making sure that students understand what a priority is. So for those of you who don't know what priorities are, they're like the things that need to come first, the things that are most important, that if you skip it, it's just going to be downhill from there. So making sure that kids or students know what a priority is and what happens when you do not put them first. So I think that's like a major part of how that students can learn about that. Yeah.
How do you help your students to learn to put the first things first?
I kind of model my lessons around putting first things first. So we start by step, start with the basics, and then apply the lesson within. So an example of that would be doing our daily warm-up, and then we move on and we have where we play it with a song or with a YouTube video or anything like that. And then at the end, understanding that that's the part where we can kind of relax. We've got the main part of the lesson down, then we can just play a game. So if they go home, so if you went home, you go, okay, I need to do my homework. Then after that, I'd be like, well, I can go clean up my room a little bit. And then after that, you can say, well, I can go play outside now because I got everything done, because that's how your day goes in school too.
Why do you think this is important?
I think it helps keep kids organized and adults organized. I am not a very organized person, so by making a list or doing something that tells me this is what I need to do first, this is what I need to do to make all the students in Village successful, that really, really, really helps me, even if the first thing I need to do isn't that fun, because writing lessons for 5 hours or whatever is not super fun, but the end product is fun, which is really good.
How did you get into the music industry?
I wanted to kind of share like my personal experience or my love for music. So I got in it not just to be a good performer or good at my saxophone, but to actually like share what it is like, because a lot of people like in Emporia, music's really cool, but a lot of kids love sports, and so there's not a lot of music advocacy. So sharing music with kids is super important to get the music up and going again in the middle school and high school. So I think just by my drive for wanting to share it really pushed me into keeping with music.
What year did you graduate college?
I graduated last May in 2023. And yeah, I started in 2019, so I went to college all the way through the pandemic. So most of my college was online, which was really hard. But I graduated on time, which was very nice.
I bet that was a big challenge,
It
especially with music.
Yeah, we had to do a lot of weird stuff. So like I play the saxophone. The saxophone has a lot of holes, and with COVID, you can't breathe out, so we had to cover our saxophones in trash bags. And like we did marching band kind of chopped up style, so you had your little group, but you had to be 6 feet apart, and then they would record you playing your one part of the song, and then they would mash it together with another part, and it didn't sound very good, but it was still fun.
Did you do like orchestra, band? Did you ever do like chorus?
So I did in middle school, I did band and orchestra. I did not do choir because it was at the same time as orchestra, so I had to pick between them. And then I went into high school and I did band and I did orchestra until my sophomore year of high school, because then they switched the schedule, and instead of having 2 semesters, we had trimesters, and so everything was all at the same time. So I had to pick between them, so I only did band. And then for orchestra, I still continued it by taking private lessons. And for choir, I never really did because I'm not very good at singing, but I did try out for theater, which had me singing. So it was kind of like that, but more in an active, like acting kind of role.
I thought it was interesting that they chose you to come talk about this habit, because I feel like, and we already touched on it a little bit, about how putting first things first applies to an instrument, but it really applies to all types of music, performance, because there's so much planning and background practice and things that have to happen. So I think it's like aligns perfectly with your experience.
Yeah, that is super true. It's like if you skip one step in music, you'll probably be okay until later on when you have to apply it. So then you're just kind of fumbling. So it's very important to make sure you understand what your big rocks are so you can get those down, and then you can have the fun stuff on top.
Yeah, for sure. Well, even just like in theater, if you don't memorize your lines, you're going to get out there and be like, oh, I maybe shouldn't have been playing my video games. I should have been memorizing because I'm up here in front of hundreds of people and can't remember what I'm supposed to say.
That is very true.
Yeah.
Did you ever picture yourself becoming a music teacher?
I did. I really wanted to be a teacher because I was kind of a bossy little kid, and so I like to boss my friends around on the playground and say, you need to do your homework and stuff like that. But I knew I didn't want to be a classroom teacher just for the fact that I wanted to teach like the fun, relaxing stuff that you guys get to come do. So like you're like not stuck in a classroom, but you're like in the learning mindset all day. And when you come to specials, it's a time to just kind of like chill out, and you can just kind of vibe and have fun. So I really wanted to teach specials just so I can like make a connection with every kid and not have like the responsibility of keeping math or social studies or science going all day, every day.
What like inspired you?
I would say for playing the saxophone, there's this really cool guy. His name's Leo P. He came and played during Halfway to Everywhere 2 summers ago, and he plays the bari sax. And I had played the flute at the time that I saw him, and I, like, in middle school when I was listening to his music, and I was like, the flute's so tiny and it doesn't make a lot of noise, and I want to be obnoxious, so I decided to switch to the saxophone, and it was probably my best choice I've ever made. Saxophone's so much fun, and you get to play in any group that you want to. But for teaching, I had a really good first year teacher for first grade and second grade. Her name was Miss Elkin. She worked at Logan Avenue. She just moved. She was super nice, and she got like this laughing hippo. So if anyone was sad, you got to hold the laughing hippo. And she was just an amazing first year teacher. So I wanted to be like her.
Did you ever play any sports?
I did play sports. I played softball all the way until high school. I played in like rec leagues, and then I did tennis. I was on varsity tennis for 2 years in high school, and then I was the boys tennis trainer for the rest of the time. But I got hurt in every sport that I did, so I kind of like dropped it. And I did track too, but I'm not very fast, so.
Did you ever get like majorly hurt?
Yeah, I had my head got hit with a pop fly in softball, and it dented my skull. And then in track, I dislocated like all of the vertebrae in my back because I was just like, I was messing around. I was not doing anything safe. I should not have been doing that. And then in tennis, I didn't really get hurt. I just kind of like, I would dislocate my thumb a lot of the time because the kids would hit it so hard. And I was like, I need my fingers for music. So I just kind of dropped it. But it was really fun at the time. So, is it fun being an Eagle leader? Is it fun like doing a lot of like extra stuff rather than just
Especially when you don't want to learn the lesson and you get to get out of class.
All right,
We
nice.
still learn in our meetings though, right?
Yeah, but you don't learn the stuff that you don't want to learn.
Makes sense, yeah. Very
makes
cool.
I'll try to keep it interesting then. Well, I think final question for you, always like to ask, what advice would you give to anyone listening?
I would just make sure that you're not being a follower. So being a follower is okay in some sense, but just like in music, when we take votes on things, I have you close your eyes so that you can't see what your friends are doing, because then you're making your own personal decision. So I would just make sure that you understand what you want rather than just making the crowd happy. You should just focus on what you know will make you successful, what will help you in the long run. So making sure you're kind of a leader in your own sense rather than a follower most of the time.
I agree. Couldn't agree more. Actually. Well, you guys good?
Yeah.
Okay. What should we say?
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thanks for
thank you.
having me.